You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
I'd like to call a regular meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners to order Monday, March 14th at 5:30. And approval of the minutes from the Tuesday, February 15th
So
meeting.
moved.
Second. Report of the chief.
Hold it. All in favor?
Aye, who's making those? Just
Oh,
getting it off the
She's
film.
going to take it up.
All right, so
You got off the film.
the ComStat report, you'll see up on the top, it's just, Dominique has changed it a little bit, just monthly statistical report, because there were just different headings. We had a commission report, a selectman report, internal report, so she just changed it to kind of a better workflow. Just some quick highlights, the arrests were down by 4, nothing statistically big difference there, but 33 arrests in February. What I do want to point out, and she does note this, is that our NIBRs, our crime stats, we started to take a little deeper look into those numbers and how we classify those, and we've made some improvements in our system. So what that is it's the National Incident-Based Reporting System. It's a federal reporting. For some of you who've been around, it used to be what we called the Uniform Crime Report, the UCR report, but now we switched to NIBRs. So you will see, like, for instance, under crimes against property, the theft of motor vehicle parts or accessories, you'll see a 533% increase. What that is, and you're going to see that for a little bit until we can normalize this and even it out with how we code them and what's the best classification. Lieutenant Carangelo was working with our partners up at the state and specifically taking a little deeper dive into what classification belongs where. And, you know, being involved with this for many years, I often get cautioned when you look at statistics, because what goes in and what comes out, but it is true. So we're just trying to kind of button that up. With that said, the bad news within there is what's driving that is the theft of catalytic converters. You know, it is a statewide, a national problem, and it's really affecting us. It's impacted some of our businesses. You know, some of the businesses are having a tough time keeping their head above water in these tough couple of years, and now they go out and their fleet is missing their catalytic converters. Some of the auto shops are having a tough time getting parts. It's the precious metals that are within it that are driving it. You know, where it's ending up in scrap yards and the black market, and it's very lucrative. They're making a lot of money. So as far as our recommendation for crime prevention, you know, we're seeing it sometimes in broad daylight. With the proliferation of the cordless tools, they can get under the car, cut it off before you notice. So we are seeing that, and we've been victim of that and that increase. So that's nationwide, and I don't see that trend going down anytime soon. We did see a spike in shopliftings.
Yeah.
And some of that could be attributed to us recategorizing versus a larceny from building versus a shoplifting, just putting things in the more appropriate column. But just from listening to the radio and speaking with the officers, we did see an increase last month in our calls in one day alone. I think we had 5 last month in one day. Like, wow. It was back to back. So you will see some deviations there. Dominique's really good about picking out which ones seem out of range. So we just have to keep that in mind. Unfortunately, when we look at the calls for service on the social service side, those numbers really haven't changed in the way we report them, but unfortunately we continue to see the trend that we've been seeing for a very long time now in the domestics and the behaviorals, and those numbers continue to stay steady and increasing. With that, the accidents were down by 4. As far as the forfeiture report, we did have an influx of some deposits. We're starting to see some of the asset forfeiture process through the federal side that was slowed up with COVID. We recently took some deposits of almost about $50,000 that had trickled in. Last year, we did not see a lot, so now we're playing catch up. As of today, we're roughly at about, I think we broke the 200,000 mark, so that account's getting replenished. And speaking with the deputy, we do have some limitations what we can do with that. Constantly, especially at budget time, can we use that to offset our operating budget? No, we can't do that. It has to have a drug nexus, and it also has to be for items of equipment and/or programs and services that are not within our operating budget. It's fairly strict on what we can use those funds for. We have some ideas as we move forward, but right now, we're going to let that stay steady. The last thing under the report of the chief is the budget review for 22-23. I know that you had talked about it last month and approved it to move forward. What I presented to you tonight was just the excerpts of our pages in the town budget that's going in front of the Board of Finance. We'll be presenting tomorrow night, myself and the deputy. There's really not much, as you're aware. It's a very flat budget. We're comfortable in what we proposed. We wanted to be conservative. We feel that where we are right now, we are carrying enough in our personnel line to hire when we need to. We're down one position right now that we're can fill, and then we have another retirement coming up in the next few weeks. But that line is funded for full allocation because we need that at all times. If we find somebody, we need to be able to do that. So personnel drives the largest chunk of the budget. With that said, there is no raises included in this proposal because all the contracts are out. All the contracts are being negotiated. So when we factor in the lack of any contractually driven wage increases, we're basically at 0% increase. There are some small deviations in some of the lines that were contractually driven. And what that is a shifting of the tenure of the officers. The newer officers come in, they don't have as much vacation time, or they're not getting the previous contractual benefits of the tenured officers. So some minor changes, specifically in education reimbursement. All of our other operating lines are basically flat. We've been able to work within those parameters, and we like to keep it simple. When we do need more money, we will come before you and the appropriate boards to ask for it. But we think this year, moving forward, we're in a good spot. I'm sure, and I know this came up in conversations about the gas prices. We don't know what the next 6 months or the next 12 months are going to take us with the gas prices. In signing off of our recent deliveries, we're seeing a significant increase, like all of us at the pump. Just to give some background, we average between 2,700 and 3,000 gallons per month as a department. And as of today, our current budget, even though we're feeling the increases, we still have room. We're still okay. I think we'll make it through the fiscal year. There's enough allowance in there to get us there, and we'll see what the next 6 months brings. And as we go into the next fiscal year, our personnel line again is our biggest line. And when we get the full staff, we won't have any cushion there or any where to turn. But I think we're comfortable with the estimate of the gas. Obviously, if we see rates that are so historic, I think that's what we talk. That's what contingency's for, or we try to look at some of our other lines and curtail some other things. But other than that, the capital is basically what we need, and that's just police cars and equipment for police cars. There's another ask in there for laser and radar speed detection items. That's anything from the speed trailers to the signs you see on the side of the road. Again, the complaints of speeding and the increase in pedestrian traffic is going to start now that the weather's turning, and we will shift back into that mode. So other than that in capital, that's it. We're pretty flat. So nothing really exciting in the budget. I can take any questions if you have any other additional questions.
Gas has never been this high, has it?
Not in a
Close.
long time.
We're right about
Yeah.
it. We're so, yeah, it has
It's the
been.
highest it's
been.
been.
Yeah.
In the 70s, remember when you were
I got just a couple questions. In the first part of what you were talking about, where's cybercrime in that where is that in that new listing?
On the budget?
No, in the first, that NAIR, what's it?
In the NIBRs,
Yeah, the NIBRs.
I don't believe there's not an actual, off the top of my head, there's not an actual cyber crime category. That would fall under some type of wire fraud and/or, depending on, we just talked about this last week, that would fall under a different category.
So just bear with me while I ask this foolish question, but if I get, hacked and or somebody does something fraudulent to me and I want to bring it to the Branford Police Department because it happened in Branford, can I do that? And how does one go about that, and who investigates that, and then how does it fit into these statistics?
Where does it get reported?
So it would fall under different categories of fraud, identity theft, and there's also a few others that other miscellaneous or there's two different categories that are kind of catch-alls that it would fall in there. So the first part of that is with the emails, the phone calls, even now text messaging. We had a local association fall victim to some email hacking where they would grab your email address. It seems legitimate and it says, I need help with taking the survey, please click here, or they bait you into that. So basically, we all were raised to be polite. We all were raised to say, let's look at the good of things. But when it comes to these type of emails or letters or you've won $50,000, just delete it. Don't engage them. Hang up on them. Hang up the phone. Don't engage. They're very, very good. There's an increase of my grandson got arrested. Those are back out there now where locals, before we used to see it was overseas phone calls. Now there's actually locals that are doing it to say, well, bring me Walmart gift cards and meet me here. We're starting to see that again. So you're better off just not engaging. If you see an email that you think it's from a relative or an association you belong to, and it says, I need your help, no phone calls, I need you to respond just to this email between me and you. Go up, click on the email header, or click on the address of the person, and it'll show you the email, and it will not be, it's not Branford Police Chief, it'll be another email. I get probably five of them a day sometimes.
Me too.
And I'm sorry for those that I haven't responded to emails, I just delete them all. If I think it's suspicious, if it's important, you'll get back to me or someone will reach back out. Can't stress that enough. For our elderly citizens, when people come knock on your doors, demand ID, ask to see their ID. If they say they're with the water company or the power company, don't let them in. You can call us or you can call the power company directly. the days of saying, oh, come on in my house, they'll work in pairs, they'll distract you. So you're right. We're getting hit from all new angles now. It's constant, and we unfortunately are seeing victims. But the bond money one is coming back up. So if you have a loved one, or they said, oh, they lost their phone, they're in jail, and they need to post bond, don't. The police department will reach out to you. We don't accept gift cards as bond money. So, no, but you want to do the right thing, because inherently you want to do the right thing. So those have been online crimes. And to just wrap it up about where we stand on the investigations, I wish I could report to you we have a high success rate, but we don't. A lot of these servers are overseas, and the sheer numbers of them, it's very hard for us to track down those that are responsible. We've had some success here and there, but overall, on the federal side, they basically just capture your incident, and that's about it. Like, it's very hard. So, again, say no, hang up, don't let them in, delete your emails, don't click on links that seem, your Amazon account, that's another famous one. Your Amazon account needs to be updated. Don't do those things.
How do you know it doesn't, though?
Believe me, don't.
Like you said, you can look
when you get that, it doesn't matter who it's from. It really doesn't matter. The only way you can know for sure that it's the right thing, do not respond, just like the chief said. Find out the number of the organization and call the organization and go directly to the organization and say, are you looking to do this? And they'll probably tell you, no, we didn't do that.
Other than that, any other budget questions?
Quickly, under regular wages and salaries, and you might have mentioned this, your requested amount is $6,600, $6,641 less than the RTM amended.
Yeah.
Is part of it because of that we need, we're hiring,
Yes, it's the steps. So they come in at a lower,
they started, right?
So when we hire recruits that will go to the police academy, they start at the lowest rate. When we hire certified, if they have, which they do, the vast majority of all of them, we take them at our top step if their years of service mirror our step in our contract.
Okay.
So that's what you're seeing, and that's Audra Clyburn. That's the new hire.
Right.
That's the offset.
Are we getting close to the construction project downstairs?
What I'll do is, if we're good with the budget stuff, kick it over to the deputy. He's just going to hit the training report and some of our recruitment drives, and then he could field any of your building stuff.
Sure.
For training, important note, we had mental health evaluations completed for 11 officers in February of 2022. So those evaluations were per the 5-year requirement as part of the Police Accountability Act. They went well, no issues there. Our department accreditation managers, Dominique Bergolto and Lieutenant Carangelo, both attended a CALIA accreditation training. We had several officers attend a crime scene photography course. Sergeant Carney attended a canine training in South Windsor and her monthly training and tracking with Canine Arrow. We have Brianna Sepulveda. She's currently completing her ongoing field training for a position of dispatcher. We also put out a refresher training on our death notification policy. And
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. And the only other thing to note is we started our recruitment drive for a vacancy in the department, and we'll be doing a March 23rd, Wednesday next week, a coffee with a cop from 12 to 4 with an emphasis on recruitment. So if anybody's interested in becoming a police officer, they could come by, talk to the officers about the process, the steps involved, questions about the agency. or just as a traditional coffee with a cop, if anybody wanted to come by, the public could come and just meet our officers and discuss any issues. So that's all I had for the training
I have a
synopsis.
question.
Sure.
What is our policy on death notification?
So we have a extensive policy on it, most of which comes out of a state mandated policy. So it's a model policy there, which we've followed in our policy, but it's extensive, and it's important for our officers to be refreshed on that policy and make sure they're following it properly. So,
Can you,
which we haven't had any issues there.
okay, so what is the procedure?
Um,
Say somebody's dead.
Right. So there's a next of kin notification, which is very important. So that's one of the many
And
procedures
who
in the
goes?
policy.
Who goes?
So we will send a supervisor and an officer, and we always try to do that in person. So there's times where, I mean, the policy is extensive because sometimes the notification comes from out of state. Someone passes out of state. We have to do the notification in town here. Sometimes it's an accident which occurred in town, and maybe the family lives in a neighboring town. So there's a lot of different dynamics that come into play, but the policy helps guide us through those dynamics and certainly give the notification in the most proper and professional manner that we possibly can.
What is the time frame for that notification?
We try to do it as soon as we possibly can,
How long do you stay with the people?
as long as they need our assistance. And oftentimes, when we're there on scene, we'll bring in our chaplain, Reverend Keene, or Danielle Sarasi, our police social worker. She's there to help. So bring them in for as long as we need to be there. We'll stay and make the family happy, make sure that they have good resources, that they're in a good place.
We've gotten letters from people that have benefited from that, and that they're always praising the officers and just saying how, you know, just how comfortable.
Stabilize
yeah.
the situation, I should say.
Huh.
So, yeah, there's definitely a lot to it. So.
Thank you.
Sure.
Do we have anything else?
No, that was it for training. The building project still ongoing. We've been meeting with our architect, Brian Humes, who's been assisting us in the proposals for schematic design of the building, what we'd like to see, what we need fixed, and I've asked him for a full proposal, and he's working on that. At that point, when we have the full proposal, we'll be putting out, the first selectman will be putting out a request for a construction manager to manage the project. So that's where we're at right now. At that point, we've looked at the building, we've assessed what needs to be done. They've come here on site. They've done mechanical, electric, and plumbing inspection of the current building, itemized what needs to be fixed, what needs to be repaired, and then we've kind of worked out, the priorities there as to what needs to be fixed.
It's going to be done through a bond, correct?
It will be.
And it'll not be done through the police department budget, will be through buildings?
I don't know how that's
So-
bonded.
Obviously, the amount of this project is far going to exceed any regular capital request. So
Right.
most municipalities, the common course is bond. Whether it's rolled in with other things or not, that's up to Jim Finch and the Board of Finance. But GGB would probably, where the money would flow would be in an account specific to that project.
Okay.
Who gets access and who does that's yet to be
But it'll
seen.
go through GGB, not us, correct?
Well, it'll go through the CM, it'll go through the construction
Right.
manager.
Right.
Brian does a great job with GGB, but we still have to maintain our daily operations. And when we get into a project of this size, this is, it's not gonna be a large scale project, but it's gonna be enough that, the deputy his attention is going to be 50% of his day is going to be when this hits the ground. He's going to be on that project with the CM, with Brian. So we just have to get to design development to get some good numbers to bring forward. We don't want to bring forward anything that's hypothetical. How much do we think? We can give you rough numbers. We know from other police departments that have upgraded their cells to meet today's standards, which that's what we need to do. you're talking almost $1 million just in cell blocks. Then we have the previous issue of the moisture and the concrete in the basement, which you're all aware of. That, with the price increases, is probably $500,000 just for that, based off the last study we had done. So it's a substantial project in number, but again, it'll put us in a position for the building to be ready for another 25, 30 years. Our locker room, the female locker room, we're out of space. So everything in that basement has to get taken up to get to the flooring to fix that issue. So that's the opportunity to do the cells. So
So you're talking gutting it?
they have to get every square foot of that
Yeah, good.
slab.
Right.
They have to shot blast it, coat it. So here's the opportunity. Our workforce has changed. It's probably not the best utilization of the space, so now's the time for us to be able to fix that. And then, the bigger issues are roof, our HVAC system, all that stuff. So
When do you see us
Time frame?
moving in?
there's a lot of variables. I think, we have to bring it to the public. We have to get good numbers. We will have all the studies. We will have all the documentations. We can do all the presentations that we need to do. When, I don't know.
An estimate.
I would like to see within a year that we get it to the street or get it to the public.
Well, that's good.
The sooner the better.
Yeah.
But don't forget, we also have to operate.
I was gonna say, out of curiosity, once they gut downstairs, what do you do between that point and when it's all finished? Should you have to arrest somebody, what do you do with them?
So it's easy. We rely on
These David or
we
Guilford.
rely on our adjoining department.
Okay.
So we have compacts and agreements. So when we do that, how it gets phased, that'll be a discussion with the construction manager and how we do it in a cost-effective way. Well, a lot of carrying costs because we have to, the officers won't have locker rooms. They won't have showers. They have to have showers. We just had a case, unfortunately, 2 weeks ago where the officers got exposed to things that I don't really want to discuss, that they had to come back and shower and throw their clothing to be decontaminated. So we need to maintain that. It can be done. It can be done. The people that we'll target to do these projects have experience in police buildings and how to manage that orchestra and that dance. The deputy will have the ability to have input on that and kind of coordinate that also. I've had my fair share of experience doing that already once, so
Now it's your turn
I figured what better to pass the torch to the good deputy. So
to make you earn all that money you're getting.
yeah.
She's gonna love it.
What would the concern from the public be? When you said you have to bring it to the public, is there opposition to doing this, or?
Well, with any project, and specifically the bonding packages and, the Board of Finance and the approval process, those stages, more specifically with new police buildings, you see a very high failure rate with those projects.
Really?
This is not a new building.
Sure, think about it, Joe.
This is just a renovation. And I think the keys to success is show the identified need, which we all know
Right.
that it's an
That's
identified need. But, one of the things is how do you, they're all interrelated. And I think that's what the message the public has to understand is that when we look at the cell block area, that's a need that we need to get to today's standards. We're down to 2 usable cell blocks that we're comfortable using because of the safety, setup in there. So we're kind of limited with our cell blocks. So we need to get that back up to standard. That's tied to the flooring. Now, when we start looking at our dispatch center, okay, that's 24/7 every day. When do we need to refresh that? When do we need to look at the lighting in there and the HVAC? So all these things tie together. So someone had asked me, well, why don't we just piecemeal? We'll do the basement, then we'll do the roof, and then we'll do the parking. Oh, wait, we don't have parking here. There's not much parking here for people who need to come in here.
Yeah.
So we need to fix that. We have serious security concerns in the back lot. So when you tie all this together, what makes sense is look at it from a whole building perspective, spend the money now, don't try to piecemeal it, because we'll fail. You know, when we need to move, whether it's fiber or connections to the dispatch center, move the stuff once. You know, as you see, we try to keep the building and the appearance of it very clean. Our cleaning staff does a great job. We paint the walls regularly as much as we can, but sometimes underneath is what is more important. If you look at our ceiling tiles, you'll see in almost every room there's leaks.
Are you planning on getting rid of these ceilings and getting like?
I would think we're looking into more efficient lighting
Yeah.
and HVAC system, and when you start talking that, you know, the sheetrock, the acoustical ceilings, they're not the cost factor. So
Yeah.
it sometimes with the process of the construction, it's easier to put new, move forward. So, you know, we'll have the study, we'll have the documentation, and I think that the public will support us. It's not just a want, we just don't, you know, we're not saying, hey, we want new furniture or something. It's, we're out of space in our locker room, we have moisture and quite
Mold.
frankly, very high humidity levels down there that are unacceptable. And that's been there from what the report says, pretty much since we moved in here.
Wow. So to make sure I understand, you're going to take all of these components and put them into one bond. So you get all the money you need for all the projects, and then you'll
Yeah.
systematically decide, like
It'll
triage,
all-
what has
it'll
to
all
get done
be in-
first. Okay,
They'll figure that out.
A
And
construction manager will
yeah.
I
lead
understand
the
that.
project.
So,
I understand that, but I'm just,
Yeah.
so more than likely, it makes sense they'll work. They may choose to work from top down,
mhm.
bottom up. You know, and
Yeah.
that's, or they'll do some up here, some downstairs, get our cell blocks up and running. Now, cell blocks are an issue because there's only a few manufacturers, and they don't like smaller scale projects. So what the architects will do, or the company will try to find other projects, which, think about it, there's probably not a lot of cell block projects around. So those have to be ordered like day one of approval of the process. But once the shells are ready, they can do those in a week. But then again, do we have a CO? Do we have the approvals we need? So it's a dance. You know, the
Sure.
deputy, he's going to get a great experience, but he's truly capable of doing it, and in concert with the first selectman, GGB, and everybody else, it'll be a team effort. And I think we're in good hands.
I think you are too. You might be a little grayer by the time this is over.
That's all right.
Or a
Well,
little balder, maybe.
Chief Muller to lean on who's done it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take that day off.
Yeah, that's-
I guess the other question that I have is what, as a police commission, do you see our role in all of this? How can we be positively assist, or is there a role for us?
That is a fantastic question, and I think this, from my experience, and looking at some projects that were very successful and others that weren't, I think what you're doing now with the overall support of the department and essentially trusting those that are involved in, whether it's the police side of the house, or in this case, the construction project. You know, we're not the experts. None of us at this table are the experts in cell block design or parking lot security. So what I think the commission's part is what you're already doing, in the sense that we assemble the best CM we can find. We assemble the proper attorneys to manage the bonding part of it. We have people that have experience, and we vet them. You know, when we start talking committees, I think sometimes with these smaller projects, they get down into the details and they get frozen,
Yeah, nothing ever gets done.
and nothing gets to the finish line. This, and I don't want to sell it as, you know, it's going to be millions, but it's not a big project. You know, if we want to decide what color the walls are going to be, great, we can do that. But overall, it's just the moisture mitigation is what it is. the efficient layout of the building. That comes from the architect's experience, but more importantly, what the deputy did was he engaged everybody in the department. And more specifically, correct me if I'm wrong, John, is he went after the future. You know, that the people that are gonna be there long after us. One thing I gave him as a piece of advice is you don't wanna be the one to leave here and they say, who was the person who had the door put there?
Yeah.
So he got the input of all the members of the department, and they had some great ideas to better utilize the space. So I think that's a phenomenal question. I think what you're doing now is the track. You've all been very supportive, but certainly the dialogues, if there needs to be more discussion or involvement, we can do that. But I like to say, get the team, get the good people, and get out of the way.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and that's a lot of what we do here.
I'd like to just, if it's all right, I'd like to add to that, which is over the last 13 years that I've been on this, we've had a few issues. Not many, but a few issues where we weren't necessarily getting full cooperation of other ends of town, where we needed to get things done. And where we got involved as a commission was having people, on the budget committee who understood the projects that we were looking and understood what we were trying to do, and make presentations with our, executive branch to the other departments as required. And some of it's marketing, some of it's being articulate and being able to explain it, and that's it. So when we really have to step up to the plate, we have done that, and generally that's been somewhat effective. There's very few things that we needed that we didn't get done over the last 10 years. Some of them didn't happen on the first try. Some of them took 3 or 4 tries. But we as a group can be very effective.
And the fact that we're all supportive of the police department.
Rick is right, making the people in town, the right people in town, aware of the issues.
And there have been commissions in the past, way before I got on, that try to sell it to them.
Well, what we can do, we need to show the need, but, so right now we have different reports. We have the forensic report of why we have moisture. We have that, we paid for that. Now we have the schematic design of what the better utilization of the space should look like based on our needs and the changing of the workforce. Then we have a site plan of what the parking lot should look like to get better parking for up front, specifically handicap. I don't like that people have to traverse a hill to come in to get a report or talk with a cop. So all those things, what we can do is we'll put together all those reports and we can do a summary, whether it's PowerPoint, and just give the commission a briefing that can be put on the TV for the public. And we're certainly willing to do, public meetings also to present it. But at the end of the day, we have a space needs assessment that tells us how many people we have, how many square foot of locker space we need, and a little bit cushion for the future. Because when we walk away, we want to have it ready for the next 20, 30 years. We don't want to, throw the investment out the window and all of a sudden our women's locker room is not big enough. No, we want to have that. So, if you want to see the preliminary schematic designs of the layout, just reach out to the deputy. He can get those to you. But again, cautious. Those are subject to change. When we get to the next step, when the numbers start rolling in, things are subject to change. And then even after that, things are still subject to change. So, but I don't want to go in front of any board, including the commission, and say, I think we need $1.5 million and we have nothing, hard numbers to show you.
Right.
We need to present everything, get everything concrete to say, here it is, this is what it looks like, and this is how much. And we're not there yet. And to the chair's question, I think we'll be there, in short order, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay, is that it?
If anyone else has anything for the
Thank you.
deputy or myself?
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the report of the chief?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, traffic committee, looks like
It was
it
canceled.
was canceled. No,
This is a quiet time of year and we're
yeah,
enjoying it.
report of the chair, no report. So we just now motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Done.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.